Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach, held Tuesday, September 5th, 2023 at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call as soon as I can get the screen up. There we go.
Oh my God.
Councilmember Postoli.
Here.
Councilmember Lester. Here. Councilmember McGinnis.
Present.
Vice President Treston.
Here.
President Bendo.
Present.
Let the record indicate that the presence of Acting City Manager Ron Walsh and Corporation Counsel Dennis Cohen will now have a salute to the flag.
Mr. Lupo, how about you lead us from the Peanut Gallery?
Oh, wow.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to, regrettably, our first meeting post-Labor Day. So, hope everyone had a great season. Still got a few weeks of summer left, and as Mother Nature is clearly reminding us in this room tonight. So, hopefully we'll get through the agenda quickly so we don't have to just sit here and sweat. So, let's start. Do you have a...
Yeah, I have a brief city manager report. First thing I want to do is acknowledge the terrific summer we actually had down on the beach this year. We had a new chief of guards and deputy chief of guards down there, which was Rich Borowski and Phil Cavacino. They did a fantastic job really getting our beaches covered and making sure that the waters were safe. Joe Brand and I and them did a lot of talking to them and working with them, and they really did a great job. We had a great summer down there, so my hat goes off to the entirety of the lifeguard crew. And the beaches look beautiful this year, and I think we overall the city did just a terrific job this summer so far. Really, it's the official kind of end of summer in Long Beach when the lifeguards are off duty and you can't really swim anymore, but great job. Another thing I want to bring up is the closing of the boat ramp and the dog park and the bocce courts. That's been delayed about a week. Is it, they're going to start next week, Joe, I believe?
Should be September 11th, they can start the vibration monitoring setup, and then the following week they start installing bulkhead.
Okay. So it actually worked out in the city's favor in that the bocce ball courts were actually available for their playoffs, which was really good. And also, we've been working very diligently on trying to find a place where our dog park could be moved, because the dog park is going to be closed for a prolonged period of time. We believe we have identified a nice place down by where the animal shelter is on city property, where we're going to be able to allocate a nice area for where the dogs can be. We're in the process of putting down weed barrier. We're going to put a nice sand pad down there so it'll be soft on the pads of the dog's feet, fencing the area in. So we're working on that. Hopefully that'll be up and running within the next several weeks. We're in the process right now just bidding out some of the fence work, but everything else there will be done by the city. So we really listened to the dog community and tried to really work. It wasn't easy to find a place actually to accommodate that. There's not a lot of city property out there that would actually accommodate it, but we found a really nice, suitable location. So that concludes my city manager report.
Okay, great. So let's move on to the agenda and the public hearing.
Okay, first item is a public hearing for a resolution authorizing the City of Long Beach to renew a cable franchise agreement with Cablevision Systems Long Island Corporation to operate a cable system in the City of Long Beach, New York.
Oh, she's here?
That's Cablevision, yeah. And Joe. So, is it open hearing or is it open?
Yeah, we opened the hearing.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
I'm Samantha Pardell-Jerez, manager.
Samantha, can you just raise the mic up?
They're not the best mics in the world, so you got to kind of get close to them as if you love them.
Thank you. Samantha Pardell-Jerez, manager, government affairs at Altice. I'm here to answer any questions and provide you an overview of the agreement.
Okay.
So,
Basically, do the overview
Sure.
if you're going to do one.
So what we're seeking is a non-exclusive cable franchise agreement with the city for a term of 10 years. The current agreement expired August 12th of 2019. And in that time, my office has been in good faith negotiations with Corp Counsel to reach this new proposed agreement, which you shall have in front of you. In exchange for granting this agreement under federal law, the company will provide a 5% franchise fee back to the city for use of the public right-of-way.
Okay. Any questions from the council? All right, seeing none. Any from the public? Okay, then we'll close the hearing.
Okay,
I was just going to add, just so everyone knows, this is something that the city and cable, well, now Altice, renew every 10 years. So,
okay, on to the regular calendar. Item 1, a resolution authorizing the City of Long Beach to renew a cable franchise agreement with Cablevision Systems Long Island Corporation to operate a cable system in the City of Long Beach, New York. A hearing has been held on this item already. Item 2 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to accept a charitable donation.
So this charitable donation was from our ex-council member here in the city of Long Beach and our ex-assemblyman Harvey Wiesenberg. I don't know if, Joe, you want to come up and just kind of say how this came about, and I know I'll let you tell them what the money's going to be used for.
At last month's senior advisory committee meeting, one of the women who sits on the committee with us lives in the same building as Harvey Wiesenberg. I guess through small talk and interaction, the conversation came up about the Magnolia Center. Harvey expressed a desire to make a donation in the amount of $5,000 that he wanted specifically earmarked towards senior programming. We talked about it that day. She asked, well, how does the next process start? I simply told her to point Harvey in my direction. I see him almost every day at the rec anyway. He walked in my office probably about 3 or 4 days later with a check, and I kind of just threw it on my desk. And anxious, and anybody that knows Harvey, very generous and always anxious to try and make a difference, and this was one that he was really excited about. I spoke with him earlier today, as a matter of fact, because he called to yell at me that the check hadn't been cashed yet when I explained to him that, Harvey, there's a process of getting it a council agenda item to accept the money. I promised him that should it go our way tonight, I'll have it in the bank tomorrow morning. His only other ask was that a portion of that funding be used to bring back the special needs kids from the Life Skills program up at Long Beach High School who used to come to the Magnolia Center and do some singing and dancing with the seniors. It was a wonderful program, and I assured him that we'd be happy to make sure that that took place. That's it.
All right, thank you, Joe.
all right, any questions from the council?
Yes, do we need to change the resolution now? Because this just says for senior programs at Magnolia Center.
No, it's a senior program.
I thought he just said he wanted funding for,
Yeah, that's to bring the kids to this senior program. Yeah.
I didn't know the kids were
Yeah.
seniors.
No, the kids are being brought to the senior program as a program.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, any other questions from the council? And Ms. Hessian, you look like you're chomping at the bit.
Wait, before Eileen comes up, but there was a little bit of a discussion, Joe, if some of this money could be used for the Friendsgiving. Okay, thank you.
Eileen Hessian, I just wanted to mention that the person on the senior board, her name is Pat McCann, and it's really due to her talking to Harvey that this money came through, and we're grateful to her. And the lesson is sometimes all you have to do is ask. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments from the public? All right, seeing none, on to item 3.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a leasehold extension agreement.
So this is basically an extension of the lease for the tennis courts. The city council has been given the actual verbiage of the contract. Should it get approved, it'll be posted online. Any questions?
All right, any questions or comments? All right.
Joe, are you handling this? I'm not sure. tenants, do they pay any property taxes?
Check the mic, son.
I'm sorry. When I checked with the, tax assessor, I was told they do not.
No property taxes. And they fell behind during COVID, and they still owe us money for what they fell behind.
That's correct.
And do you know how much they got from PPP money and SBA?
I do not know that.
Did you ask them?
I did. I don't know the exact amount. I believe they got somewhere around $2 million, from what I recall, for after COVID for rebuilding and whatnot. But I don't have an exact number.
So during that period, did they give us any of that money, or?
No, they did not. What we did is we entered into that lease addendum with the repayment structure for them. As far as I know, they needed that money to rebuild and to refurbish their courts because everything was wiped out.
So it was all to rebuild?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So $2 million to rebuild? What is that property worth now?
I'll have to get back to you on that. So basically, it wasn't just like the clay courts, but they put up the tennis bubble also. They reinforced the tennis bubble. Then I know, for example, kind of like a bounce house has like an air system that keeps it inflated. There's a similar system that was like $200,000 to keep the bubble inflated, as well as air conditioning. So I know that they did put a lot of money into different equipment for the tennis center. Can I guarantee you that it was all $2 million? I don't have all those numbers, no.
And were they open during COVID?
No, they were not.
But PPP money doesn't go for equipment, does it?
I'm not 100% sure, Roy, to be honest with you. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. And do you know if they raised their prices over the last 5 years?
Over the past 5 years, I'm not certain.
We have no idea.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to point out that I had asked about the assessed value of the property, and Dennis responded to all of us that it was approximately $2.5 million.
Okay, thank you.
So they put $2 million into a piece of property worth 2.5?
Well, what I said was, when I spoke with Sid Siddiqui, the owner, he told me that he received approximately $2 million, and I did say that I wasn't sure that they put all $2 million into it. I don't know exactly how much it was. I didn't ask for an itemized list. Basically, in essence, when I did the lease, I was basically just looking to escalate the costs in a fair way to the tenant, and so we would get some money back as well.
It should also be clear too, Roy, that, with regard to what they charge, we don't run the business. We simply lease them the property for the business, as well as what he does structurally to maintain what he put there in the first place. That's his business. He put the money into his business. We don't really get involved in his personal finances. We just ensure that he pays us what he owes us, which is what we definitely accomplished in this.
But when we give people 5 years of a 0% increase, I think we should know what they can afford.
So that was the prior lease.
Right.
That was the prior lease. This lease actually has built into it annual increases, increasing them from $102,000 to $135,000. Is that right, per annum?
Yeah, I believe it
Something
goes up
along
to
that.
about $12,000
It's in front of us. And
I believe it goes up to about $12,000 a month by
right.
the end of it.
Right, another 12,000 from under 10
From
right now.
85 right now it's at
8,500.
8,500, yes.
It's 8,500 right now.
At the end of the 5 years, it goes up to,
Right, it's
yeah.
So what happens is, when they're finished paying back the money that they owe us, which I believe is in
April
of 2024,
Yeah.
that very next month, I believe the rent goes up from $8,500 to, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, to a little under $10,000. And then every year, in the past, it was going up $500 per year. But when we negotiated with the tennis center, Mr. Walsh had recommended that on certain years, we actually increase it more. So certain years, it goes up $750, just as a method to kind of recoup some of the money that, because I don't want to say money that we lost, but because we're not giving them any increase until they pay the money back, he thought it was prudent to increase the rent $750 certain years because of the fact that they were going a few extra years without an increase.
Mm-hmm.
One increase is after 6 months.
I'm sorry. Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions from the council? All right, any from the public? Okay, seeing none, on to item 4.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a renewal agreement.
So this is a renewal agreement for Life is Sweet Media LLC. They are a consultant who provides public relations and public outreach for us, as well as sponsorship. They seek out sponsorships for the city for things like Fall Festival, some of the things that they did this year with the containers on the beach, to clean up containers on the beach from Bethpage Federal Credit Union. And in total, I think we're up to around $115,000 or $117,000 this year in sponsorship money that came back to the city. That's paid out of basically they get a percentage. I think it's 15% in the agreement.
All right.
So right now it's a positive of about $70,000+ a year to the city to have the contract. We're making money on the contract.
Any questions from the council?
Yes, I think I had asked this before. What did we get the prior year?
Do you remember, John?
No.
No, John.
It hadn't been consistent. In certain years, we had gotten $25,000 for fireworks. Fall Festival, I think the max we had ever gotten was $20,000.
I don't want to break it down. I'm just trying, because it wasn't broken down here. We got, I think, 108 last
So
year,
I think
right?
the last comparable year was probably 2019, when we had a full suite of events in the same way that we had over the past year. The 3 previous years to this year were obviously COVID years. We weren't doing the same amount of events, not the same amount of opportunities. I'm going to guess where we were like 35,000, 40,000.
So, in the past, for these years, the entire city only took in 35,000?
That's correct.
And this was the response to that? I mean, I remember getting 40,000 just for fireworks.
That had happened in the past, but not on a consistent basis.
So I think this was an effort to actually make it part of our operations, to have a vendor to go out and, or a consultant in this case, to go out and be consistent in trying to shore up not only what we get per year, but to create the types of relationships going forward where we can start to build upon prior years of money.
Well,
Correct.
basically, John, who did this before Stacy?
Some of our events people did it in their spare time, and we also had another consultant who was getting 20%.
They were getting what?
20%.
And they brought in, and the total that everybody brought in was 35,000 in the best year?
I'm not saying the best year. You asked for the most recent year. That's the best that I can recreate from 2019 was around that amount, yeah.
What was the best year?
I'd have to go back.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any more questions from the council? All right, any from the public? Ms. Hessian?
Eileen Hessian, and of course I'm trying to save you money always by coming up here. We do have a PR department, or we have PR people anyway, and a lot of this, I think they do. I mean, I see John talk to the Bernstein from the local paper. I have never seen this other woman. Is she here tonight? The consultant?
She's not here tonight.
No. I mean, I don't know what she does that our PR department couldn't do themselves. For example, can you give me an example of the sponsorships that she's gotten? Is that what John just said? Okay, so...
We actually have a list of that, yes.
Okay, maybe I'll come up tomorrow and see. But her base pay is 30, and it looks like she made almost 20,000 with her 15% this year, right?
Approximately, yeah.
That's a lot of money when it used to be done in-house.
No, that was the point, Eileen. It wasn't being done effectively, and the money that she makes as a base salary isn't for the fundraising that she does in our sponsorships. That's actually in support of what she does for our public relations. And John, do you have that listing of the stuff that she actually does? There's a considerable amount, and a lot of the very positive articles that you've been seeing about Long Beach throughout the year were actually her responsibility for working those actual with the go ahead, John, with the papers.
I'll just say, I mean, I think you captured it generally speaking, but the alternative is, in years past, we've had a public relations department of 3 and a part-timer. it is now me who does it part of the time. Carrie Ann is events. She used to have 3 people just for events. Now I lean on her heavily, and we also have one other person that is basically shared between Carrie Ann and I. So we have half the staff between the 2 different departments than we used to, where we were paying those people benefits, full
Half
salaries,
the
and
half the
everything else.
staff in between the 2 departments, and none of them full-time doing just PR. So over the years, before I got here, there was staff that actually was focused on this. And it's been a discussion amongst council members to actually try and focus in on what the council wants in the way of a public relations department, because we don't have a department right now. We have, like John says, part-time, people doing it part-time. I have my own ideas about things that we should be doing there as well, but there's a balance that we're trying to figure out. And it's not something that you arrive and you're there, right? It's something that is constantly under evaluation. This last particular year, after reducing the budget to make sure that there was no budget-to-budget increase, and in fact, there was a decrease, as you know, in operational expenses, you know, while we're dealing with the Haberman increase, there was no room to build in capacity. There was only room to try and reduce the burden on the taxpayers, which the council took seriously. So building in future years to try and increase things like this, and there's many, many areas in the city that need operational support with staff to try and offset some of the costs that we do with consultants, right? So if you had a staff that actually did public relations work and actually went out and focused on sponsorships, then you offset that with the full-time salary. So let's say you're paying the person $55,000, $60,000 a year to do that full-time, plus you're building benefits, you're closing in on $100,000 a year. This person earns $47,000 a year, raises $117,000, and we get the benefit of the work that they're doing in regards to the public relations. And her job really wouldn't be to be here. Her job is to be doing, I would say she puts in well over 40 hours a week for us. I mean, she works her tail off for us and is in constant communication with the city and communicating with us as to who she's contacting, what relationships she's trying to solidify and build that sort of long-term based relationship so that we have sponsors for things going forward. And to me, it's well worth the money spent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Session.
I will say I have asked several times from previous staff to post her contract on the transparency portal, and as of a few weeks ago, it still wasn't there. So if you had been able to see that, you'd probably have a better idea of what she does.
Ron, I do have a question.
Sure.
I mean, we have a publicity budget of, what, $367,000, and that does not include the benefits. With the benefits, that would be over 500 or something?
Ina, you want to speak to that? No, I don't think it'll be over 500. But you want to speak to that a little bit, Ina, or do you know it off the top of your head, or you want to get back to Roy on it? He says that the publicity budget is around $300,000, and he's asking...
$366,686. And I know that printing is $30,000 of that.
Steph.
And $1,000 for supplies and materials. John, I can't hear you.
I would say regular salaries are probably 200.
240,000.
Somewhere just north of that.
686.
241,000.
He's asking the
Is
benefits.
for, okay, 241 for salaries for the events department and publicity, because they both get paid out of publicity.
John, I can't hear you. You might have...
240,000 for the events line and publicity, because they both get paid out of publicity. That's for personnel. So whatever the fringe is 35%.
How many people?
3.
3. Families.
Hi, good evening, Ina Brasnik, City Controller.
So that's, it's 50%?
It's about $40,000 roughly per employee.
So it's, you're using a figure of 50% right now?
No,
Well,
it's
it
less.
depends on the salary. I'm not using the 50%. For them, I don't know if it's 50, if it's 200,000, that's not 50%. At
So it's
120.
roughly 500,000?
The total?
Yeah.
360.
360 plus, she just said the benefits.
No, 240 plus the benefits, which make it about 360.
So
So that's.
No,
He's
the
talking
benefits
about
are not
the
included
total
in
budget for the
benefits are
department.
not
Says
included
Social
in the.
Security.
Yes,
in the budget.
approximately, you're right.
Thank you,
Sure.
thank you.
That's it. Thanks, John.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Hodge?
Everybody gets calculators out, 50, 30, 10. We'll get it by the end of the meeting.
30, 10.
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street.
That was 90, James.
Huh?
That was 90.
Okay, 90, 30. Get your calculator out. From Mapleton, Nevada, from the bay to the ocean. I just wanted to say, I believe that, you know, the city may have, you look at situations when you get in office and you try to do things a little different, whether it's trying to save on different areas. And I think that a city like ours and any municipality or village, you need strong PR. Not, you know, and it's honorable for those to try to do what they can. But if you see that it's not working out, you have to do what you can to bring in more funds. And it would be good if it was a solid PR. It is a department from what you guys just expressed with all of the different members, Roy. But it would be good for you guys to have someone that is skilled in that area, and then whatever support staff that they may be, it may be because it will yield more success to the city that they're constantly on it. They don't have 50 jobs, and you said that John tries to do what he can, but again, that may be one of his 5 things that he's doing. He's very busy. So I think the city need to keep looking at that and see how we can really promote our great city the best as possible. You did say you guys are looking into things like that, and I heard you guys say that you're thinking about things. So I think it's whatever way we can promote all of the amazing things that we're doing and fix the things that we need to fix. It will bring more revenue into our city. It'll bring more sponsors to anything that we may need. And like you said, like Harvey Wiesenberg, it just took someone asking him for money and he gave it. So just imagine if you have a skilled person, and I know Karen, since she's in the grant area and stuff, you know, when you use certain words, it helps out in getting grants and funding. And so those people are skilled. This is what they do. This is their life. And it's not hard to them. And I think it would yield a lot of success, not 30,000, not 100,000, but probably millions into our city if it's a person that this is what they do. So I'm just, again, saying on that, we should definitely think about having that department function with those that are skilled to do that, because it would only help the city. Thank you.
Thank you, James. All right, any other comments? All right, on to item 5.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing annual allocation of community development funds for the 49th program year.
Sorry, the mic isn't on. So this is for the 49th year of CDBG funding, which, when was that submitted? What month was the actual submission due on the 49th year? Was it March? Yeah, it was in March. So which was submitted in March. The county has reviewed our submission, and this is the county's award, which is $330,000, which I want to say is more than last year. Last year was $275,000. So if we do well, hopefully our funding keeps going up. But any specific questions about any of the allocations? I'll leave it up to.
You mean from the council?
Yeah, I don't call for that. I was talking about any questions that the council would have, but John calls for that usually.
Oh. Well, I just wanted, can you all just explain to folks what the transit-oriented development project is that is receiving?
Sure, I'm Patty Bourne, Economic Development. I'm here with Tyler Huffman. The county for a number of years has focused their funding, the community development funding, around downtowns, and transit-oriented development is the idea that people in today's world like to be able to walk or bike to where they need to go. Therefore, if you provide housing in the downtown near transit, and in our case, we're very fortunate because we have the multimodal center, which has the train, 2 bus lines, bike parking, car parking, surfboard parking. It's a hub for people to get to and use. So the idea is to make it more attractive and safer so people feel comfortable walking around, biking around. And so we have, for a number of years, focused on this. The first phase of transit-oriented development was finished last year by Joe Fabrizio's office, DPW, where they provided that very safe and very focused crossing on Center Street right next to Kennedy Plaza, between Kennedy Plaza and the multimodal garage, the parking garage, so that people can cross by walking or biking and are not in conflict as much with the cars and the buses.
Part of that particular project too, Tina, was that it wasn't able to be completed. We actually wanted to take it past the police department, change the way the configuration is of the street there to make it obvious when you're actually walking into a driveway, put another crosswalk at the between Center Street and the unnamed street along the back of the Channel Park housing, as well as some other crossings in other areas, which was at a considerable more cost than we had funding. So that was all part of what we asked this money for. What's also happening is we have New York funding money, and we had a meeting with Joe to discuss that, to see if New York funding, New York Forward funding, is not able to provide the crosswalks in these areas as part of their project, then the CDBG money here would actually go towards completing that entire walkable, transit-oriented downtown. If that does happen and New York funding is able to do it, then the monies here would be reallocated. We'd apply to the county, tell them where we would like to spend the money, and then the county would either approve or say, no, we'd like you to see it spend it in other areas.
Thank you for that. And the funding, as the acting city manager said, we applied earlier this year. We've been notified by the county that we're getting the $330,000, and we'll be signing a contract with the county probably before the end of the year. Therefore, we can start spending it towards the end of the year, the 49th year. Tyler is still doing a great job spending prior year's funding to bring us up to date as well. So we use different years' funding simultaneously to effectively accomplish what our goals are. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patty, I have a question on the actual ask for the money.
Yes.
Okay, so we proposed in Nassau County, and then they come back, and then we can repropose and stuff like that. Is that what I understand is the...
Not quite that much. I wish we could. So we asked for...
We can't
and
repropose?
We were very aggressive, and I think in a practical way, we asked for over $500,000 when we applied back in March, because we felt we had some good programs and we had a lot of things we could do with it. The county has only a certain amount of money, and when they reviewed our application, because we asked for other things, we asked for money, for example, for code enforcement, you may remember, because that's very important to help out, keep our communities, our neighborhoods safe. Well, they decided not to give us that money. We asked for more money. I can't remember the other things. Do you remember? Well, anyway. But we asked for more money in all the lines that we accepted it, and they cut us back. But
No,
as the acting city manager said, they did not cut us back as far as we did last year or for the last 5 years. We have more money for the 49th year than we've had in 5 years. So
Patty,
it shows
now
the
my
confidence.
question. My
Pardon?
question is,
I'm
the
sorry.
money that was allocated
Yes.
from the 330,
Yes,
okay, how was that decided?
by the county.
So we just ask, they tell us, here's 330 and here's what you have to spend it on?
Exactly.
So
asked
we don't
for
have
more.
any say in that? We don't ask for any amount for any particular things? The
No.
county just...
No, we
determines-
give them programs, Roy. We give them the program
Well, that's
areas
what I
that we
was
want.
just asking. You
Right.
just said no.
No, we asked
No, she
for-
said yes.
We asked for, I'm sorry if it was confusing. We asked back in March for over $500,000.
No, but did we
cut down.
differentiate what it
Yes,
would...
by
Okay.
line, yes.
Okay, that's what I'm
And
asking.
one of the lines, for example, that were cut out was code enforcement.
Right.
But all the other lines in the application, in the resolution, are things we did ask for. We just asked for more.
So
We're happy to be as greedy as possible for the city, to ask as
I'm
much as
just
we
trying to figure out, so we asked for 210, 500 in the transit-oriented, or did we ask for a different amount?
Oh, we asked for more.
We asked for 300, I think it was $350,000.
And 150 for the rest? You said you originally asked for 500.
No, that was the total
Total.
ask of
So you
all-
asked for 350 for the transit-oriented.
So it was around 350.
And
then
how
they
much
cut
for
us back
code
to
enforcement?
210. Sorry?
How much did you ask for code enforcement that got cut? That you said code enforcement, they didn't give you?
I think it might have been 30,000, in the range of 30,000.
Okay. So-
That was based upon consultation with the building department. what they
And
thought they-
initially, what did you ask for the senior services?
Senior services, I think we had 30. We had 30 for senior services, youth services, and youth employment training as well. So they cut those back to 30.
Is there a reason that so much more was asked for the transit-oriented development than for the services for our constituency?
It's very expensive to do that. That's why.
But
So
it's
the-
also because it's the rules of
Right.
HUD. This money
Right.
comes
That's-
from
that's what
HUD
I'm asking.
to the county, and
Yes.
they put a maximum threshold on what you can spend. So the maximum amount you can spend on youth services, senior services, any kind of what's called public services is 15% of the entire allocation. Now, if you're a mathematician and you looked at the numbers, we got a little bit more because they like us, but basically, because the county has to collect everyone's application, make it work with the numbers, and then submit it to HUD for their approval. Based upon
That's-
the allocation HUD gives the county.
The question was, is
Yes.
there,
Yes,
something that we
15%.
have to, so,
Sorry,
and that 50, the other 85% has to go to some sort of capital, or as we would call it?
20% can go as a maximum for administrative costs, which is to pay for the staff who have to fulfill
Right.
the HUD
Okay.
and county requirements, and 15% can go for public service. So that's 20, that's 35, that leaves 65% can go for other programs.
When you say other programs, does it have to be something like development of streets or something like that?
That's a preference, but there are other things like code enforcement that could go for, if they gave us those funds. They did not give us code enforcement money.
And once they say no, then we don't go back and try to change that?
No, because we've been told it's a decision made by the county executive.
All right, thanks.
All right. Any other questions from the council? All right. Any from the public? Ms. Hessian.
Eileen Hessian. I'm sorry, I had laryngitis for 6 weeks, and I'm fine now, so I just feel like I have to use my voice. Anyway, a couple of questions. When it says senior services, does that mean Magnolia?
The funds are provided
It's
for
for-
services.
It's for a
Funds are
program.
provided for services that would be coordinated with youth and family services at Magnolia Center. So yes. Then it's for internal staffing for city programs.
Okay, good, thank you. And then you described TOD, but what is PF&I?
Public facilities and improvements, that's a HUD term, and that is the category under which something like transit-oriented development falls.
Okay, and the 210 was spent on this pathway over here, right? Right here?
No, we spent a little bit more because we had a special grant.
Oh,
think we
okay,
spent
but I mean, that's what it-
$375 on
That's
that.
what it is, right?
Yes, right.
And who does that serve? Mostly the commuters?
Well, I observe anybody walking east-west, because if you're walking, or I've done it on a bicycle, if anyone's ridden a bicycle, it's very dangerous to cross that wide street with the buses coming down. It's an emergency road also for the police if they have to get somewhere. And sometimes drivers are a little distracted and drive in there, and they're not quite sure where they're going. We have events, and people congregate for events, so it's to help people cross the road when those big buses come through.
Understood, thank you. Next time, so many people complain about crossing Park Street, which I'm sure would cost many times over $210,000, but that probably would be a very good thing.
Well, that's something that we're doing with New York Forward.
Good.
That's
Okay.
all under the project considerations for New York Forward.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Hodge.
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York. Roy, to your question, the city, they always look for municipalities and whoever they award this money to put their programs together. So your question is just a simple yes. We ask them for money for different things. We may ask them for certain amounts for different things, and then they may say yes or no. Can you go back and forth and ask them? Absolutely. You're the city. They will tell you what they may be leaning on. Of course, there's a legislator, and they have a legislative hearing, which every municipality is supposed to go that they're allotting money to. And so they, and Denise Ford, I believe, is the chair, are still on that committee. But yes, your question is yes, we put that together. The $20,000, who is that for? For the youth? What programs? What agencies?
The $20,000 for youth services is used by the city to support staff to provide programs.
No, I said which agencies, non-for-profits?
It's not, it goes to city for city staff use. That's been the process for several years now. It's not a new.
Okay, so again, the money has, it has a law with it, and the money is supposed to, the highest percentage of community CDBG funding, which is federal funding, is supposed to go to low to moderate income persons. That's the highest percentage of money it's supposed to go to. So when you talk about different programs and different things, that's why I'm asking you, you're saying money is going all over, but a lot of the areas that some of this money is going to, it is not going towards the highest percentage of low to moderate income persons in the city of Long Beach. And also there were many organizations that worked with and dealt with a lot of low to moderate income families and persons, and this money has always historically helped these organizations and persons out. And I hope that the city can get back to looking at different organizations, and if Tyler is in charge of, I'm saying this because I've been working with community development funds since Paul Goodman, Mike Cruz, and everybody else down the line. Tyler's, he's been working with community development. He should be able to answer some of these questions. No, nothing to you, but he's a good man, and I've worked with him. He's done a lot of stuff. And when people are coming to ask questions, all of the information that people are asking, I don't care what it is, if it's on the agenda, we should have A to Z so we can answer all of the questions that residents have. We come and we say, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. But again, back to CDBG funding. It's supposed to be, again, geared towards low to moderate income persons. And so you guys decided where this money was going. Nobody else.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Lake?
Good evening, everyone. Crystal Lake. Mr. Hodge is correct. A certain percentage is supposed to be targeted towards low to moderate income households and or needs. That was the original intent, to uplift all communities to have a better balance across the board. Prior years, going back some, community CDBG funding was almost $1 million or more at times. Some of the requests are no longer being implemented. There was requests for housing, shelter, various types of needs, fostering the prevention of homelessness and things of that nature. So the cost of living, as we all know, is astronomical and growing. So maybe we could go back and review some of the older requests and compare them to the newer requests to see what's not being requested and receiving funds for potential allocation. I do believe that the 330-some thousand is a good number, yes, but I do believe it can be much better because the need is great. The funding would be available, especially when there is an EJ community, which not only would target those particular residents, but it also would include any other individual that might need the assistance. I understand how the funding is being geared to create entitlement across the board, which is okay. But we have to find a way that we can uplift everyone, especially when the money that should be allocated for a certain demographic. It could be veterans, it could be seniors. There's so many. The disabled, our youth especially. There should be so much funding available for our youth to keep them engaged, especially during the summertime. So thank you for your time, and I'm hoping that there would be, in retrospect, to go back to the 10 years of the funding allocations. At one point in time, can I finish?
Make it quick.
Okay, you could go online and see where the actual funding at the Nassau County site, where it was called a funding summary, which is no longer available. And that information should be available. Thank you.
Thank you.
Crystal, you can understand my concern. I cannot, and I still guess I don't understand how transit-oriented development fulfills the needs of the people that really need this money.
I agree.
I look at whatever that crosswalk cost, and it just seems like...
It's in the CDBG zone. It falls within all of the guidelines of CDBG, and it's a public good that provides safe crossing and eliminates the conflict between traffic and people that walk across there. Primarily are people living in North Park at most times. That's why it's spent there, and that's why it was decided to spend it there.
Safety is an important issue as well. But
One kid gets run over by a bus, and we'll wish we had crossings.
But it doesn't
don't want that.
run. The same can be said for crossing Park Avenue, like Eileen
And
said. And
the money to spend on Park Avenue is being done by New York Forward. That's being addressed also.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? All right, on to item
President,
6.
if I could just mention, one of the things, I just want to emphasize what Ms. Lake said. Yes, in the past, we got a tremendous amount more money. 2 reasons why not. 1, Congress cut the amount of funding for this particular program. And 2, sadly, in the past, the city was not functioning up to the requirements of the county and HUD for the use of the funds. We reduced that balance of unused, unreimbursed funds because of the work that my department did and Ina's department did, Ms. Resnick's department.
We were $1 million behind, over $1 million behind.
62% reduction. So the county is saying, because you're doing better, you're following the requirements that we have for HUD, we have increased your money this year. So we look to the future to be more competitive and get more money so that we can do the programs. And if I may say that we didn't get to mention 2 programs that Ms. Lake mentioned that are very important besides the ones we did mention, are housing. We are working on housing because we have a fair housing plan that we approved back in May when we submitted the application to do housing counseling and hopefully eventually build some mixed income affordable housing. We have a call this week with someone else in the housing field, Tyler and I. And the homelessness, we do have funds, and we are working with the police department, with our commissioner and the deputy commissioner on using those funds wisely. It's a modest amount. It's about $20,000, but we want to use it to support the needs of the homeless.
Which we also supplement with other monies that the police department brings in with donations, and we give out backpack, we give out toiletries and supplies. We give a lot of stuff to the homeless population.
Ms. Hezen said all you have to do is ask, so I asked again for a work session on community development block grants.
Can I just say
Because
one
we
thing?
obviously have a disconnect, because it says in 2017 fiscal year, according to Wikipedia, which of course is not necessarily always right, public infrastructure was 32.7% of total CDBG funds. So that's the greatest proportion of costs are for public infrastructure, then housing, then administrative and planning, then public services, then economic development. So we have a disconnect here of what the program is and how it's supposed to be administered. We're following the rules, but still we have a disconnect between some people in the community, and maybe we can work on that.
Karen, I was just going to say I agree with you, because when we met with you all months ago and got an overview and a really good background, it was very helpful. So I do agree that a work session would be good for folks.
Okay.
For us too.
Any other questions? All right, on to item 6.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the capital projects fund budget.
So, Joe Fabrizio, you want to come up and... You're the next 3 items, Joe. You might as well get comfortable.
Good evening, Joe Fabrizio, Commissioner of Public Works. The city received reimbursement in the amount of $90,169.94 from the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, which is known as DASNY, for the rehabilitation of Magnolia Park and Leroy Conyers Playground. As you're all aware, the city received a $1 million grant from DASNY for the project. This $90,169.94 represents the final reimbursement for the project. We previously received payments in the amount of $645,406.25 and $264,423.81. So we've received $1 million total back for the project. So the funds are being put back into the capital account for playgrounds, which is going to be utilized for the Pacific Boulevard Playground rehabilitation, which is on the agenda tonight, and also for the Sherman Brown Park rehabilitation, which we're going to do next year. So this is actually, it's a good thing. We finally got our $1 million back. You know, Ina and I have been discussing this. You're going to see more of these resolutions, like showing the reimbursement of funds to the accounts. Because, you know, I do come here often and say, oh, this is from a grant, this is from a grant. But I think we really made a commitment. We want to show you. So I think every time we get these reimbursements, if you agree, we're probably going to have a resolution showing that we're getting the money back.
That would be great, Joe.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer
Questions
them.
from the council? Any from the public? Seeing none, on to item 7.
Item 7 is also a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the capital projects fund budget.
Okay, similarly, this is a different grant. This was from FEMA under the FEMA 404 Hazard Mitigation Program. This resolution is authorizing an amendment to the capital budget to reflect receipt of recent reimbursement in the amount of $1,104,653.96 from FEMA. The city was awarded the $39,139,237,000 grant under the FEMA 404 Hazard Mitigation Program for the North Shore Critical Infrastructure Protection Project. We borrowed $15 million as the working capital for the project. So this amendment basically is replenishing the line. So the money that we borrowed, which was $15 million, is the working capital for the project. As we get reimbursed, you're going to see resolutions probably every 6 weeks or so showing that we put in for the reimbursement and we got the money back. So this was, again, a $1,104,000 reimbursement that we just received.
Okay, any questions from the council? Any from the public? Seeing none, on to item 8.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to retain Residential Fencing Corporation to rehabilitate fencing at Pacific Boulevard Playground.
Okay, this resolution goes hand in hand with number 9. I respectfully request that the City Council authorize the City Manager to retain Residential Fencing Corporation to rehabilitate the perimeter fencing at the Pacific Boulevard Playground at a cost of $22,419.25. Residential Fencing Corporation is a piggybackable to Suffolk County contract FFIR 062416, pursuant to the city's procurement procedures and in accordance with Section 103 of General Municipal Law, piggybacking is permissible. The work will include rehabbing the interior perimeter pipe rail. I don't know if you've been there, but there's an interior pipe rail that goes around the inside of the park.
I think it's made of steel, but it's really it's eroding really badly, and it's actually quite dangerous in my opinion. So that's going to be totally rehabilitated. They're going to be using a vinyl coated Schedule 40 galvanized railing in its place is what they're going to be putting there, which should hold up in the salt air environment. The work's going to complement the Pacific Boulevard Playground, which I'm going to talk about next, and therefore I recommend awarding this to them. Its funding's available in the capital budget.
Okay.
And actually, the project that I'm going to mention next did come in under anticipated budget, so I'm going to try to get this 50% of this money that's on this agenda reimbursed through the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, because, as I'll mention next, the actual price came in under what we expected.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
Yes, Joe, on the fencing, that's not part of the grant that we had for the playground, right? That's separate money, that's all.
Well, what happened is I purposely, I was afraid when we bid out Pacific Playground that we were going to be over budget. I was very concerned about it, so I actually pulled out the fencing component and did it separately under our capital budget money. Then it turned out we got the price in for the park, and it was actually within. It's a little under. So we theoretically, potentially, the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation should reimburse us. I'm going to make that request, but I don't know at this time. I'm doing inquiries as we speak.
So it's a definite maybe, right?
It's a definite maybe.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you.
There's a
All right.
potential we'll get half of that money back, like I think it's $11,000.
All right. Any questions from the public? Seeing none. Item 9.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into an agreement for the rehabilitation of Pacific Boulevard Playground with the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay, on Thursday, August 17, 2023, we received 3 bids in my office for the rehabilitation of the Pacific Playground. The lowest responsible bidder was PSL Industries at $628,185. There were 2 other bids received. One was Turf Techs USA at $674,496. The third was Playsite Surfaces, Inc. at $710,187. Playsites was the third bidder, and they're actually the contract that rehabilitated Magnolia Park and Leroy Conyers. But unfortunately, they were the third bidder in this case. The work at the playground is going to include, we're going to install an additional 1,200 square feet of decking to complement the decking that's already there that we did about 10 years ago. We're going to put a new 24 by 24 shade structure on top of that deck. So there's a 24 by 24 structure there now. We're going to add another 24 by 24 shade structure. So we're going to expand the shade area. We're going to be installing 6 additional picnic tables, same ones that we just put at Magnolia. We're going to be putting in a new bike rack, 4 planters. There's going to be activity panels that we're going to put on the deck for the physically challenged, so you could actually go on the deck, and there's going to be like 3 or 4 activity panels that you can go up to and play with on the deck area. And there's going to be a new superstructure, a new play structure. It's actually really cool. It's a big, it looks like a pirate ship essentially. It's replacing the, there used to be a big black unit that we had to remove last year. I don't know if anybody remembers. It was deteriorated and we had to remove it. So now we're going to be replacing it. It's actually a really cool structure that we're putting in. And we're also putting in another new climber there. PSL Industries is a reputable contractor that's performed many projects of similar size and scope in Long Beach on time and within budget. And just so you know, half of the funding, which is $314,092.50, is being derived from a grant from the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. And this bid was submitted to review to the Office of Parks for review prior to this award, and they approved it. So it was approved by them. And there's an MWBE requirement in the amount of 30%. They're going to be meeting that threshold for the MWBE. And just another note, we designed this project in-house with our staff. Connor Bogan, my office, and Brooke Anderson were instrumental in putting this together. They did this in-house, which was a nice effort on their part. I really rely on them. The contract duration is 180 days. I'm a little concerned about that because there's a long lead time associated with this equipment, so it could be longer, but the contract term is 180 days. But this will be ready at probably, it's going to be probably early next year. The project will be complete.
So
definitely by next Memorial Day.
So Joe, basically what New York State Parks is giving us half the
50% of the cost.
And that's a definite, right?
That's a definite.
Okay.
The actual grant was, just so you know, was for $335,038. So theoretically, we could have spent up to $670,000 this bid was 628.
And-
So I'm going to try to get them to recoup the money for the fencing.
So-
That was what I was
So
mentioning
are we
before.
limited to the half? I mean, did they say we will?
If it was more, we're responsible for it.
Okay.
But we're lower than, the bid came in lower than I anticipated.
And that's a lot of equipment. I
It
hate
is.
to ask, but is it guaranteed?
Yes, you have the, we always have the 1-year warranty.
No, but it's by
but-
the ocean, it's steel.
Yeah, no,
and,
it takes, the equipment, as you can see from Magnolia, that was only replaced about 10 years ago. 10 years is pretty much what you get out of the equipment in these places, unfortunately. We rehabbed every park after Sandy, and now we're starting all over again.
Yeah, but at $1 million a park, it's.
I know. We're actually lucky because we got $1 million from the dormitory authority from DASNY. We just got $335,000 from Office of Parks and Recreation, and we're going to use all this money we're putting back. We're going to have about $600,000 for Sherman Brown Park, which we have a consultant designing that now. I've been working with the assistant city manager on that with a consulting firm, and we have some nice things planned for that, which you'll be hearing about.
Commissioner, I just want to take a moment just to thank you for always trying to save the city money.
Oh, no problem. It's my
And being
pleasure.
so excited about playgrounds.
Okay. Any other questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, any questions from the public? Seeing none, on to item 10.
Item 10 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase a fully equipped police vehicle from the lowest responsible bidder.
So several months back, one of our police vehicles went in for some repair, and as it turned out, the undercarriage of the vehicle was rotted out because of its frequent use on the beach. That vehicle had to be condemned. We've managed to. That was a vehicle that was used primarily for your animal control. We had to take a vehicle that was allocated to another part of the police department, re-outfitted as an animal control vehicle. This is to replace the vehicle that it took. So it is for a pickup truck, a police interceptor type pickup truck. We compared this to the bid of a Ford vehicle. This one's actually comes in around $4,000 less than the Ford vehicle at an equivalent Chevy Silverado 1500 police package. The money is already allocated for the vehicle, and it does not increase the size of the fleet. The fleet will remain, as I promised, without growth.
All right, any questions? Shouldn't even ask.
Yeah.
3-year warranty, 36,000 miles.
There you go.
Okay, but, one of the things I have to give you kudos, Ron, one of the things that drove me crazy for a long time was the way the vehicles would rot if they're used on the beach. And we weren't rinsing them underneath. And that, of course, is going to happen. And we had vehicles, the lifeguard vehicles with 11,000 miles that we had to replace. And this year, it was this year that you
Correct.
you instituted an actual washing process for.
Yeah, so the beach vehicles are washed every night before they go home. Now, the lifeguard vehicles, although the damage for most of them is already done, and we're going to have to start replacing some of them. But the police vehicles, when they go on the beach, are washed underneath, as is the city maintenance vehicles are washed now down as well. The other thing we also instituted was any new vehicle that we get, even though they come with undercarriage protection, we're spraying them with additional undercarriage protection to try and elongate the life of our vehicles.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions from the council? Any from the public? Mr. Kramer?
Hi, Tim Kramer. So when you say fully equipped, does that mean with the lights and all the accessories that way, or is that including
So
that?
that particular stuff is done by an outfitter
I
afterwards,
understand
so that the actual lights and sirens come on after the actual vehicles
I
is
understand that.
purchased.
My question is, the $64,700, is that including with the light and siren package, or is the light and siren package in addition to the $64,700?
After the vehicle is purchased, we put the lights into it, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I think let me correct this, some of the lights come on this vehicle because of the vendor we're actually getting it from, but we'll have to complete the package.
I'm going to try again. Okay, so
You don't have to try again, I just explained that.
You didn't explain. You didn't explain it. $64,700. Is that including complete with the light and siren package, or do we have to pay in addition to that for the light and siren package?
There'll be
I know
some
that-
additional cost.
Huh?
There will be some additional cost.
So what is the cost of the truck itself?
$64,000.
Okay.
$64,000.
$700. So why do we need a
$700.
$64,700 truck?
What's that?
Why do we need a $64,700
That's what a
truck?
police vehicle goes for. That's what a pickup police vehicle goes for. It's not an extravagant purchase. It's done on state bid. It's under what you could buy the truck for, or anybody in the public.
Well, I can tell you, that's certainly all the money. All the
Sorry?
money. It's certainly all the money.
All the money?
All the money. That number is, I mean, $65,000 buys a lot of truck. And my question is, why do we,
These are
does it
specially police
include
vehicles that
leather,
are- Mr. Kramer.
navigation and sunroof? I mean, I mean, that's and then the siren and light packages on top of that, the way it sounds, or at least part of it. And I can also tell you that if you spoke with somebody in the industry, all of the Chevy chassis rotted. Didn't matter if it was a truck, a Tahoe, a Suburban, they all rotted. Didn't matter if you washed them underneath this, you put extra undercoating on, undercarriage, they all rotted. Every one of them. So somebody in the industry should have educated you on that, and we could have saved some money there too. But $65,000 is I know what these things cost, and I'm telling you right
Apparently
now.
not.
Huh?
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Apparently you don't know what they cost, because if you went
I
on
got
the state
30 years
bid,
in the business.
you would be, congratulations, you don't buy police interceptor
I got
vehicles.
30 years in the business. What
I've been
is it?
buying trucks my whole life too, and I don't know where you buy your police interceptors, but I don't think you can, because they're not available to the public. These are pursuit-rated vehicles. This is what they cost. This one was actually cheaper than the Ford, which is why we went for this vehicle. We saved the city money by not going with the Ford
I
Interceptor.
mean, this would be an LTZ, 65,000, but, I mean, does it have leather, sunroof, nav? I mean, what does it have on it?
It's a Lamborghini.
Huh?
It's a Lamborghini.
Okay, thanks for your stupid answer.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Mr. Hodge?
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street. Just wanted to say very quickly, Mr. Kramer, it's great that you got 37 years. It would be great if the city can meet with them and get a cheaper vehicle if it's possible. If it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. Right? That's it.
We have to go with bid.
No, I
We
know.
can't just buy from the
I
public.
know,
We
I
can't
know.
walk into a dealership.
I understand the
And these
process.
actually, just so you know, James, actually are under the price of a retail vehicle.
This is all I'm saying. If he feels, and there's no argument, I understand the process because I've been coming here for 30 years in these meetings. If he feels, because he's been in the business, and he may know, that's great. Meet with him, let him know what you know, let you know what he knows. And if we can get it cheaper, we can. If we can't, then we have understanding. There's no reason to, call each other names and go back and forth. If he could get it, and he's a resident, if he can help us out, I'm all willing for it.
I
'Cause I'm a
didn't
taxpayer.
call him a name.
No, he said something to you.
Yes.
So I'm saying that if he feels, then I think that we should come together. That's all I'm about. If somebody could save us some money, and he said he got 37 years, that is amazing. And then when I say we have experts in this city that have a lot of connections, but it's certain things that keep them from helping out, this is one of those areas. Maybe he's an expert in the area and he could help the city out. It's a possibility. That's all I'm saying. All right? That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Seeing none, on to item 11.
Item 11 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to increase amount of a previously authorized purchase.
So this particular project is for the camera system that's been installed primarily around the city. There were original forecasts of what the city and what a city vendor would be able to actually do in the way of electrical work, and the communication system that were surrounding some of the installs here. This actually is a bid to bid out some parts of the project through Versig, who's the original vendor for this project, and they were able to do it for approximately $20,000 less than another portion of the project. So what we're doing here is adding into this particular project the completion of some electrical work and the communications equipment that needs to be installed at some of the doors at the railroad while it's not shown here, it's about a $20,000 savings as compared to the alternative route. There's no additional borrowing necessary. These are already allocated funds.
Okay, any questions from the council? Any from the public? Seeing none, on to item 12.
Item 12 is a resolution to reschedule the regular city council meeting scheduled for September 19th, 2023 to September 26th, 2023.
So the September 19th meeting, most of I know myself, the president of the board, our corporation counsel, our city comptroller, our city clerk, we will all be at the NICOM conference for educational work on basically city management. And we were looking to reschedule and move the meeting 1 week forward to September 26th.
Okay, any questions from the council? Any from the public? Seeing none, item 13.
Item 13 is approval of minutes for prior meeting, August 15th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Abstain as I was not present.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay, on to the voting. So, item 1 is a resolution authorizing the City of Long Beach to renew a cable franchise agreement with Cablevision Systems Long Island Corporation to operate a cable system in the City of Long Beach. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Just so people know, we get between $400,000 and $500,000 a year for this. So, yes.
Item 2 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to accept a charitable donation. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes, and again, thank you very much.
President Bendo.
If anybody's always heard Harvey talk about this, he always said he was given an angel, a saint, and a mission. So he's still on his mission of helping. Thank you, Harvey, and yes.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a leasehold extension agreement. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
This is one of those things that really has bothered me. We have a contract here that for 5 years did not have a single increase. During that 5 years, there was COVID. During that time period, which I didn't realize, I realized that there were about $100,000 in PPP money and SBA money, but also another $2 million that I just found out about tonight. And during that time, the tenant did not pay the city, any of that money. The fact is he doesn't pay any taxes. If you have a commercial establishment in the city of Long Beach, your taxes between the time of 2018 when he first entered into the lease and this budget went up 82%, or at least the amount spent. Back in 2018, it was $8,657,000, and this year's budget was $15,810,000. So this was a business that didn't have to pay taxes, wasn't paying their rent, didn't have any increases over 5 years, and we have no idea how much they were bringing in and how much they increased, because we don't do profit sharing, which is something that I think is a big mistake in this city. But basically, it's the taxpayers that are paying here. The taxpayers that are not getting the full benefit of the use of their property. The Fact is that I understand the first 5 years, nobody here negotiated that contract. But that contract expired in August of this year. And basically, we're not increasing it until all the money is paid back that he didn't pay back, that he owes us, which is not until April. So in my eyes, he's being rewarded for not making his payments. And I find that, in my personal opinion, unconscionable. I vote no.
Councilmember McGinnis.
I thought about Mr. Lester's points, and then I looked at the tenant who has other facilities, so I cannot even confirm if all the PP money that was previously mentioned was actually for this property. There's no evidence that it was for just this property to me. And the Corporations Counsel's office actually did an incredible job of negotiating this lease, and has some very really smart clauses within the lease that protects the city and allows the city to move forward with what they wish to do if they so choose. So this is a combination of managing people's expectations, dealing with a situation, and how to make the best out of it. The arrears will be paid off by April 2024, and then the city has a lot of opportunities with that property if they so choose. And it will be the people up here, that will decide that. And I hope they make the right decisions for this lease. With that, I vote yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
I guess I was just going to vote simply, but some of the criticism seems a little misplaced, because the criticism is for a contract that a previous administration gave, and we had no control over it, and we're now fixing it. So we're actually doing what Councilman Lester wants us to do. The other thing we're doing is we didn't let him off the hook for the rent he didn't pay during COVID. Right now, his rent is technically $8,500 a month. We're making him pay us $13,000 a month, and then every third month he has to add extra. He has to give us $22,000 a month. So we're recouping all the money he didn't pay us during COVID. We are raising his rent every year over the new contract we're giving him. So we are fixing the problem someone else dumped in our lap. And because of that, I vote yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a renewal agreement. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
I vote yes.
Councilmember Lester.
It's another one of those things that bothers me. I don't know Stacy Sweet. I imagine she does quite a job, but you heard it tonight. We're spending about $500,000 on publicity, and we got in last year 108, and we average, 2019 we got in 35,000, and at that time the publicity cost was less, but only about 100,000 less. And then during COVID, we didn't bring in anything that I know of. So I look at the amount of money that we put out, and I look at the return, and to me, it just doesn't justify it. And this is not something about this particular contract. This is about the entire process of publicity and what we're getting and what we're accomplishing. Now, I did understand that there's been a lot of publicity for the different restaurants and stuff like that, a lot of letters sent saying how great they are by Ms. Sweet, and, that's nice, but that's why we have a Chamber of Commerce. That's why they pay their dues. That Chamber of Commerce should be taking care of that, and it's not really the city's obligation to make sure the businesses, the restaurants, are doing well. A good restaurant will always do well. So I'm going to be voting no on this.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
All right, so again, we heard in 2019, which would be the closest comparable year, we brought in $35,000.
I wasn't here.
This year, we brought in $117,000.
108, John.
No, because since the list we were given, she's brought in more money. So $117,000. So I'm not sure why we're complaining about bringing in an additional $80,000. That's taxpayer money we don't have to spend because somebody is raising sponsorships. So that's a better use of taxpayer money. They're getting more benefit for their tax dollars doing it this way. So I vote yes.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing annual allocation of the community development funds for the 49th program year. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Thank you, Patty and Tyler. Keep up the great work, and thank you to Nassau County. I vote yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Again, another example of us getting more grant money year over year, which is what we've been doing. Again, so we don't have to use taxpayer money to do programs and benefits for the city. Yes.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the capital projects fund budget. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the capital projects fund budget. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
I'll second.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to retain Residential Fencing Corporation to rehabilitate fencing at the Pacific Boulevard Playground. Would you introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
I'll second.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into an agreement for the rehabilitation of Pacific Boulevard Playground with the lowest responsible bidder. Would you introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes, and thanks again, Commissioner Fabrizio, for making sure that our parks are safe for our children. Yes.
President Bendo.
This turns out as good as Magnolia Playground. Yes.
Item 10 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to purchase a fully equipped police vehicle from the lowest responsible bidder. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
Before we comment on it, I just want to make sure the council's operating under the right information on this. The $67,400 includes the lights, the radios, and the antenna on this particular vehicle, including the box in the back. It does not include additional work that we're going to do to accommodate a drone deployment box on this one. So this one actually does include the lights.
Somebody,
make a motion?
So now you need the motion. So.
all right, I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
I vote yes. I know that this is an item that was already captured in the budget. The money's already been, allocated. The vehicle is replacing one that died recently, and it won't increase the fleet size. It's replacing a vehicle that unexpectedly was no longer serviceable, and I vote yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 11 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to increase amount of a previously authorized purchase. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
And finally, item 12 is a resolution to reschedule the regular city council meeting scheduled for September 19th to September 26th. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
I will be out of the country, but I vote yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
City manager's monthly personnel report has been filed by the city clerk. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, for good and welfare, and just in case you're a first timer, and you signed up, you get 3 minutes. And Brian Dombrowski.
Hi, good evening. I have two topics, one on dog park and one about just pedestrian safety. So to go through my 3 minutes, I'm just going to read off some prepared remarks, so I appreciate it. So one, I appreciate the work that needs to get done, and I'm excited for the refurbished park as part of the Bayfront project. It was great to hear earlier about the new temporary park. If there is any update, I will ask that this can get added to the city website so that dog owners know about this. I will share, in speaking to other owners, there are many who can and will chip in either through their own physical efforts or monetary to help with the space. So if there is an opportunity, please also post this as well, and you'll see a full dog community coming together to help. It remains a dream to allow an off-season beach area, but this may be an opportunity to trial, like a pre-8 a.m. program or similar. From an earlier comment about the deterioration of an animal control vehicle, this might actually afford an opportunity for less use if there is an improved time of area versus residents sneaking and then animal control chasing. I do understand concerns about cleanup and safety. I'll simply point out that there's a local volunteer organization called Long Beach Cleanup that picked up over 300 pounds of trash in the month of August alone. And this was simply from 8 to 10 hours of collecting. On the occasions that I have participated in helping out, I have picked up syringes and diapers amongst other items. So I'm not exactly saying that our residents and visitors are all saints either. So while I do agree, I wouldn't want you or your children to potentially step in, dog crap. I also do not want to be stepping on syringes or dirty diapers. So yes, there may be irresponsible dog runners among us, but I assure you that there are many of us who would embrace the opportunity to prove that us and the city can coexist. Now, regarding pedestrian safety, topic 2, I've raised this in the past, and I'm just asking the council support with efforts with Nassau County regarding the timing allowed for the pedestrians crossing Park and Long Beach Boulevard specifically, especially with schools back in session. I live on East Market, and crossing Long Beach Boulevard, I have 8 to 9 seconds to cross 6 to 6 lanes, pending cars are not speeding through yellow and red lights, so I lose a second out of that out of caution. And then specifically at the corner of Park and Long Beach, I've witnessed an accident, but also I've had too many close calls with the turning hour for cars turning right from Park to Long Beach by the gas station. I've been emailing the county to no avail, so I'm simply asking for your support to also help with this pedestrian safety.
Thank you for the comments on the dog park. And regarding Long Beach Road and Park Avenue, Long Beach Boulevard and Park Avenue, I have been in contact with the county and with their commissioner of Department of Public Works there. They are continuing to do an evaluation at that particular location, and they have monies planned to actually do a retiming and a reconfiguration of that particular intersection. It's their intersection. Right. They actually own the intersection. It's a county road.
For your guidance, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
For your guidance, you were the one who were like, hey, you should reach out to the county.
So no, and we've also brought it up with the New York Forward grant money that we have too, and they're looking at that particular intersection, and there's been people in the actual city who have brought this up to them as a proposed project. So we're working on trying to find a way to get something done with that intersection. It's not falling on deaf ears.
Yeah.
So,
I
thank
assume
you.
it's not like a budget, because it's just a light timing. I know that they probably have to conduct a study, but
Yeah.
you can also just stand there. And
They own
watch.
from basically Long Beach Boulevard
Yep.
to Lido.
Right.
Lido Boulevard.
It's a way of making you faster.
Say again?
It's a way of making you faster with Hollywood Gym, with this new process. I just wanted to say something about the dog park. Haven't been to the dog park on numerous occasions. I don't care what kind of enforcement you have. The people at the dog park are the toughest. Your dog poops and you don't clean it up, you're in big trouble. And that's a credit to you guys, the people that use the dog park. You are the best policing that I've seen in any type of dog park. And hopefully, if we ever get the beach, I'm sure you guys would not want to lose it, and you would be just as vigilant.
100%.
And thank you for that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Kirkland.
Jim Kirkland, Long Beach. I'm just here to speak about the need for some clarification for the public. One has to do with the train station. The other has to do with the streets. Now, we've discussed this in meetings, and I already know what the answers are, but I wanted to know if there's any kind of a written statement regarding these issues that could be published on the Long Beach page so that other residents can read it for themselves instead of getting information secondhand, thirdhand, fourthhand.
Which issue? Which issue
Well, the first
specifically?
is the deplorable condition of the train station, the people who hang out at the train station, the worries about maybe getting mugged or whatever at the train station, and the fact that when people are coming in from out of town, instead of seeing something nice and beautiful, it looks like a third world, well, maybe they have nicer ones, a third world station. And so I know that it belongs to the MTA, and we have no control over what they do with it. All we can do is maybe ask them. But it's one thing for me to say it, but it's another thing for the city to publish it. And so I think that's what I would like to have happen, and maybe put it on the Long Beach webpage.
So we actually have, we had a meeting with them last week. Was it last week, Joe, or the week before last?
Okay.
2 weeks ago, yeah. Days kind of bleed together a little bit, but we met with them, the station manager, their directors of the regional area for their capital projects, as well as the police department and many other entities for the railroad. They have a capital project that they're actually going to be investing money in the actual railroad itself. They're going to be doing refurbishment of the platforms, the lighting of the platforms, repainting that area as well, and relighting underneath the canopy, as well as doing whatever improvements need to be made so for leaking and the rooftop. They're also going to be repainting the entirety of the actual station itself. They've recently put out to bid, or going to be put out to bid, for the development of a cafe inside the actual railroad, I guess you would say, waiting area, and some improvements inside of there as well. Included in that RFP, they talked about having security so that the actual railroad station would have permanent security added. We've increased our directed patrols in the area. We also work with the MTA now. I provide them a case report every single time something happens there so that they're aware. There has been an uptick in the number of patrols that even the MTA has been doing, so they're being responsive. And the New York Forward, we also, part of one of the public projects for New York Forward is to actually reconfigure, re-sign the crosswalks and the actual directional wayfinding for the area so that we can direct our pedestrians in such a way as to clean that up, and also to do an interconnect between the railroad and Kennedy Plaza, not only with lighting, but with other wayfinding and beautification so that it feels a little bit more park-like as opposed to industrial. So there's a lot on the plate for that area. It takes time for the MTA to allocate any money and time to do anything, and we're trying to accelerate the process by putting some of our New York Forward money towards that particular site.
I'm sure the public would be happy to hear that. Is there any way for them to find out this information?
Well, the first thing that we have to do is wait for the projects to be actually approved, right?
Okay.
So we can't put something up that we had a conversation. We can put up when the projects are actually improved, and at that time we will definitely be putting it on our website as to what the improvements are going to be if it gets approved.
Okay, that's great. The other issue is the sidewalks. I'm sure you've heard about that ad infinitum. But it seems like it's I would say all the things I see online, the two biggest issues are the train and the sidewalks. And I know that
in the train station?
I'm sorry, what?
The sidewalks in the train station?
No, on the main streets. You know how dirty everything looks. The sidewalks are stained. There's bubble gum patches from one end of Long Beach to the other, from Long Beach Road to Laurelton.
So
but it looks very disgusting and upsetting to see this when you're coming into town and you're eating outside and looking at all the stains and the smells and everything. It's not very appetizing either. So these are issues that seem to be the hot buttons in the city. So I'm just passing on this information. I know there was an agreement at one time with the merchants that they would pay the city, or the city would instead city would charge them for maintenance and cleanup. And I've been into a lot of countries around the world, as I'm sure John has, and all of you. And there's streets you could eat off the sidewalks. They're so clean in places. But here people don't even want to walk on them. So, and the smells are just unbelievable. And I know we don't have back alleys where we can put the garbage out, but I also understand that from talking with Ian Danby, who was with the chamber, he said it's the second floor tenants that have issues as well, because the first level people have immediate access to it, but they've got to bring their stuff down, and so apparently there's some problem or difficulty doing that. But in any case, those are the city's those are the people's hot buttons right now. I just wanted to pass on that information.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Jennifer Sarafin.
Hi, Jennifer Sarafin, 107 Neptune Boulevard, Long Beach, New York. Okay, I want to start out by, I do want to thank you again for sending the letter to Equinor and the governor. Are we all still opposed to Equinor? We're still on the same page?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, because I haven't heard anything and there hasn't been any more chatter. So I'd like to give this to you. There's 2 flyers here and one of our pamphlets, and there's a petition that I don't think anybody signed yet against the project. We're almost at 10,000 signatures now. Also, I do want to say that I am personally, and we are terribly as a cause offended that none of you have come to any of our presentations. We've invited, we've had 6 now, I think it is. There's going to be maybe 6 more coming. There's a fundraiser. I know that you've all been to the one that Rich Sharon had in Island Park. That's not our community, that's Island Park. So to show support for us, it would have been nice if at some point that the city council would have came and seen what we have to say and just show some support at that point. I don't know if any of you have gotten this in your mailboxes. This is from Ari Brown and Patricia Canzanori. This is what it shows for the community and the politicians to support us. They are saying no outright, like mailing it to people's houses. But anyhow, it would be nice if you guys showed some support to the project, because we really are, we're trying everything we can. So I have another question here too.
Jennifer, 1 second. You have a meeting coming up soon.
We do,
you?
Thursday, at the Shore House. We have one Thursday.
I'll be up in Cambridge.
Okay, then we have a fundraiser Sunday.
Yeah.
And then we have another meeting it's all on those flyers, the next few meetings that are coming up in that pamphlet.
Okay.
And on our Facebook page, it's there. I think there's one, Christina, do you know, Thursday? And then at the end of the month, there's one Sunday. It's in that pamphlet. If you see on the flyer, I give you 2 flyers and the pamphlet, so you can see all the meetings there. Okay. But my concern, too, is that Equinor is they are feeling the pressure because they're sending pamphlets out to everybody's home. And when you scan their QR code, you can only show support for them. You cannot show any opposition. Have you guys seen that? Okay. And they are saying that they have been in Long Beach at the Arts Plaza on 722 and they at 8-1 at the Long Beach Night Out. So I'd like to know how they were there if we're opposing them. Like, how were they at our functions?
They're public functions. People can go, you guys go all over the place.
No, they had a table there, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't,
They had a
like,
table
we would
where?
have to ask you if we were gonna have a table
They had a
handing out
table
stuff.
where?
They were at the Arts in the Plaza in Long Beach.
So that's the arts.
That's the arts, that's
That's
not.
the arts,
that's
that's
not
not the
us.
cities.
That's not a city function.
And what about the Long Beach Police Department National Night Out? How would they get a table there?
They
I don't think they had a table
they
this
didn't
year.
have a table.
They didn't have a table this
I
year.
didn't see a table there.
So they could just be
They
there.
did not have a table this
Okay.
year.
So I'm just wondering how they were there. That's why I'm asking. Like, are they?
Well, the
still-
Arts in the Plaza is the Arts Council's determination, not
Okay.
the city's.
So are they still soliciting you guys to try to give money? Are we still taking money from them, or?
No.
Okay, we're not taking any money from them.
Taking anything from them.
Okay, I'm just asking because they are pushing really hard. They rented a place. They're hiring somebody to work here. Have you guys seen all
Why
that?
do you think they're pushing hard?
Huh?
Why do you think they're pushing
Oh, I know
hard?
well, because they're feeling that, but I'm asking.
all I'm saying.
Okay, I'm just asking. So, we have to keep going because otherwise they're pushing, you hear them, they're pushing hard. They want to be here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, James Hodge.
Mr. Bendel, before Mr. Hodge comes up, could you please give those papers to Dave so we can get copies in our mailbox?
Sure. Can you?
I can scan them and send them out to
Okay.
you guys. so.
He'll scan them and email them to us. But if you want to leave us copies, yeah.
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street. Just wanted to reiterate the safety on Park Avenue, Long Beach Road to Edwards and National, as those, especially during the summertime, Edwards Boulevard, Long Beach Road, and National have so many people that cross back and forth. If there is something that can be done with that, a special or two, especially you have hundreds, thousands of people going back and forth from the train station to just even outside of the summer, it's a little hard for seniors to cross the street, but definitely during the summer months when there's so many youth and seniors crossing the street and people that may not be familiar with Long Beach. But, and then when we're having the fairs here, if it could be a special or something there, so better safety. And also I agree, that's one of the things that I would definitely, and I made some phone calls and I will continue to make phone calls because I think residents should always make phone calls, write letters and emails for things that they want to advocate for. And, excuse me, the train station, it needs to be fixed up. It's chip and paint and chipping everything. It needs great attention. And I know the city used to partner with them when it came to the upkeep of flowers and maintenance on the outside. I don't know if that was a contract, but I know we used to do all of the flowers in front, and I think the Long Island Railroad probably used to pay the city. I'm not sure, but it's so many people coming into our city, and it should be fixed up. And also the quality of life issue. Have we brought in any organizations to deal with maybe the homeless, if it's addiction, if it's mental illness, or whatever issues that individuals may have that may hang there? Everything is not just police, 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 and more overtime and more community development funds for overtime hours to address certain issues, but again, there are certain organizations that already have money, already have funds to deal with certain issues, and I think if we have a holistic approach on how we deal with some of the issues, it may take less funds from our city if we can bring other organizations that deal with those things in particular. So I know we talked about police, but did we call those organizations in?
So with regard to the railroad station, no, they did not pay us for anything. As a matter of fact, when we had meetings earlier actually in January, we had some meetings, and at the end of last year, we turned over the maintenance of their property to them because they were kind of shucking, in our opinion, their responsibility. So they have now engaged themselves. They've been doing a lot more of the work and will do the work themselves. The city was basically paying for what the MTA should have been paying for, which is why now they're going to be doing the painting of the building and the reconstruction and stuff like that, and they put that into their capital projects. It should not have been the responsibility of the city taxpayers to take care of an MTA facility that gets billions of dollars between state and federal funding. So that was turned over to them. They never gave us any money for any of what we did. With regard to the homeless, actually, we work with the Homeless Coalition. We go out every month. We survey them. We have a very tight relationship with our homeless community here in Long Beach. Anybody who wants services, who wants medical care, we schedule a county van to come down to see them once a month, and they talk to and deal with them and get the types of services that they're looking for. We've also been able to place some of our most frequent residents, or I should say homeless, into residences. So we've been successful in decreasing the actual population of the homeless here in Long Beach. There are no shelters in Long Beach. There are no particular services that Long Beach actually provides itself, but we make referral, and we do as much as we actually can to actually support that community and work tightly with them. We also work with some of the organizations in town who give us care packages. They give us socks, underwear, deodorant, hats, and things like that that we hand out to the homeless. We had over 100 of these packages that were given out to about there's some transients that move in and out, but primarily we have about 18, 17 homeless people that are more residents of the city, if you will. None of them wish to be placed now. The ones that are on the street choose to live their life the way they're choosing to live their life. Yes, I agree with you that some of them do have some mental impairment, and we're very sensitive to that in the police department, but in the end, you can't force somebody to take the help that they don't want, and we try and offer them services in every engagement, and the police department is very mindful and service-oriented in that regard. So, thank you.
Just last thing, when he was saying, can you post it up online, and you was letting them know we can't really because we had a meeting, but when you look at the minutes of this meeting, it will be that you spoke about it.
Yeah.
And I think to, again,
Well, not the good and welfare side.
No, I'm
the
saying
actual-
that
yeah.
PR person,
Yeah.
that consultant, or that firm or in-house, they will be at least putting that up to say we're in conversation to address this area, to let the residents and the taxpayers
James,
know.
can you-
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, James.
Tim Kramer.
Hi, Tim Kramer. With regard to the Jay Gustler and 144,000, why'd you do it? Why did you put it on the agenda, vote on it when the courts ruled in our favor and the account, it was basically closed? Why'd you do it?
Just for the record, that was at my recommendation. I evaluated the case. I was not confident of prevailing on the appeal, and the settlement that this council approved was better than the agreement that was previously adopted that they would have been on the hook for paying. So, I don't want to speak for the council, but that was my recommendation.
But also, Dennis, prior corporation counsel before your engagement was working with myself, the city manager, and he had the exact same recommendation. So 2 corporation councils, independent of one another, not working with each other, came out with the same conclusion, that this was a way to save the city money and that the actual outcome would have been much more detrimental to the city had the settlement not been made.
The courts ruled in our favor, and I just want to go on record to say that all the city council members socialize with this guy and are friendly with this man. Mr. Gusler has donated almost $5,000 in campaign money to your, respective council runs. Probably describe that as a mega donor in Long Beach terms. Some of you have done business with them, and it doesn't make sense to me when the court ruled in our favor why you would open this back up and put this on the agenda. Mr. Bender, you voted to put it on the agenda, and you recused yourself from the actual vote. The whole thing looks bad, in my opinion, and the only reason why you would do something like this if there was a political, benefit or it's a bad look. It's just a terrible look. I want to ask the council, do you think there's any correlation whatsoever with between December 1st of 2022 and September 1st of 2023? We have 70 whales now that have died and 380 cetaceans, seals, dolphins, what have you. Do you think there's any correlation at all between these mammals washing up on our shores and dying and the work that's being done in the ocean with the mapping and the sonar? Do you think there's anything at all, any correlation at all? Anybody would want to answer that?
Mr. Kramer, you've heard the expression, the butterfly effect. Do you know what that is? The butterfly effect, it's a story. It's how a butterfly can flap his wings and there will always be some reaction everywhere in the world. Anything in the world has a reaction on something else. You can't say, is there any correlation? There's a correlation with everything in the world. Everything.
So we had, would you argue that this is certainly, elevated whale deaths and seal deaths and dolphin deaths? Would you say it's extraordinarily elevated in this period of time?
You know what? To be honest, I don't know. I know I've seen more
whales. All you got to do is look
at
at the numbers.
Wait. One of us
look
at
at
a
the
time.
numbers.
Okay. I let you talk. I have seen more whales and more dolphins. I've been on the beach now for 55 years. I have seen more whales and more dolphins than I have ever seen before. And I have seen more of them up close, which is just very unusual. When you have that many fish, the big fish, up close, there are going to be accidents. And it seems that, because we ask about this. We ask
Who do you
about
ask?
The people that come down and
Riverhead and NOAA. Riverhead and NOAA that come down and do the necropsies have attributed every one of the deaths that washed up here to vehicle strikes.
A deaf whale is a dead whale.
Every one of them has been hit by a vehicle according to the necropsy. Every
that?
single one of them here has been hit by a whale, by a vessel. That's what they've attributed to.
Well, that's
every
my
one
point.
of them.
A deaf whale is a dead whale because it can't navigate in the waters. And for you guys to sit up there and say that, I feel the argument. You want to argue that this has nothing to do with the fact that these whales are. Hold on.
No, no one's saying that.
Well, you are saying that.
No, I'm definitely
No, we're
not.
not.
Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, it's been vehicle strikes that the necropsy has shown. What the cause of the
They're
vehicle strike
all-
is...
every one of them.
Mr. Kramer, if you have to let me finish instead of talking over me. Just let me finish my sentence. Your time stops when I'm talking. Okay? So every one of them has been a strike from a vehicle, from a boat.
Every one.
Okay? Every one of them on this beach has been that way. That's what the people, it's an autopsy for a human being, it's a necropsy for an animal. That's what they've said so far.
Okay.
There's nothing to say that anything else. What the cause of those vehicle strikes is, they'll never know.
So you're saying there's no correlation? That's
I'm
what
not
you're
saying that.
That's what you're saying.
No, there's a correlation, but not necessarily a cause and effect. Those are the technical terms. Correlation means there may be a relationship. Cause and effect means one is directly the cause of the other. There's nothing to say that there's a direct cause there, but not saying there's not a correlation. But as Roy was referring to, it was actually Alfred Lorenzen that developed the butterfly effect back in the 1960s, and it's actually called sensitive dependence on initial conditions. And what he was actually doing was looking at models of the weather. And he noticed that when he rounded up by 1/100th of a billionth percentage, the entire predictive analysis that was done changed because of the most minute change in what's happening. So what Roy is actually referring to is, and what all of the marine biologists have actually said at this point, is that because of the increased numbers of whales, of dolphins, and of seals, and just mammal life in general in the water, and the number of boating vehicles that are out there, you're going to have more strikes. Those things could be directly correlated with one another.
The only thing
However,
that changed.
there's no way of
the only
knowing.
thing that
I'll
changed-
let you talk in 1 second. There's no way of knowing if the Equinor side of it is a cause and effect.
The only variable that changed was the work that's being done, the mapping, the sonar. That's the only variable that changed.
No, that's not the only variable that changed. The
So how
number
many more-
of actual
so you're saying
marine,
there's more, you're
Mr.
saying there's
Kramer,
more,
once
more
again,
whales. How many more?
all right.
What's the population? You must have the numbers because that's what you're basing your argument on.
To be honest, I didn't ask them. I didn't go out and count. I know how many I've seen.
I got to kind of say this too. It seems to be that there seems to be a misunderstanding here in the aggression and the fight that seems to be coming aimed at the administration. The administration has been extremely clear in that they are against the power line coming through this particular city.
Not good enough.
Okay, so, well, I'm just telling you. So the fight seems to be like trying to get the council to take a position that the 5 thinking men and women up here are not necessarily willing to necessarily say or not say. Article 7 process. And they're not going to talk in particulars anymore about anything until that process is finished. And it's unfair to put them in a position where they would be having to talk out about something that they're bound legally to secrecy about. No, he's removed himself. I believe only his wife is in it.
It's disappointing that we have this going on, this ecological nightmare going on in our oceans.
Your time is up, so.
Disappointing.
Christina Kramer.
Good evening, Christina Kramer. So I just want to give you an update. We do have 9,500 petition signatures, and you now have a petition that you can read and understand what's on there. We also have 4,400 members in our Protect Our Coast LINY group. BOEM is authorizing incidental takes. That means they can temporarily or permanently cause whale deafness by high-pitched sonar used in ocean floor mapping. Once their hearing and echolocation is disturbed, they no longer can see the ships, they can't navigate the ocean, and they can't find food. So as my husband said, a deaf whale is a dead whale. Authorized takes the authorized takes that they are allowing will kill each northern Atlantic right whale left in the ocean, which there's about 350 of them. They're not going up, they're actually going down. It'll kill them 3 times over. Our coastal area is like the I-95 of whale migration. Equinor, Empire 1, and Empire 2 are directly in our whales migration area. My information is retained from Bonnie Brady, who heads the Montauk Commercial Fishermen's Association, Megan Lapp, who runs the Center for Sustainable Fisheries, BOEM, and NOAA. I watched the Miss meeting when I wasn't here, taking my son to Montana. And Roy, I see you speaking on the whales, and then you say you don't know. You're not a marine biologist, and unless you're getting your information from a marine biologist, I think it's a little unfair for you to tell us how you feel about the whales and what you see. And if you're getting your information from Mr. DiGiovanni, he's the whale expert who admitted that his organization takes money from offshore wind. Sometimes I think that some of you don't understand the gravity of this project and how devastating it can be for our community. Tina, you've been largely silent. You say you're opposed to the cables, but not the offshore wind industry. And it's disappointing because I read that you worked for Riverkeeper and Waterkeeper. And I was looking at their mission statement while I was sitting there. And it says that it's about protecting the waters from the chemicals, from protecting the sea life, that these chemicals will end up in the water for decades to come. So knowing if you did any research on the offshore wind and what chemicals are made with the turbine blades, what they do with the cement, thousands and thousands of pounds of cement, the diesel oils that they use, I can't find it in myself to think that you don't understand how detrimental it is to our waters.
I do understand, and the other aspect of that is Riverkeeper is a proponent of renewables, and wind energy. And in that, I also advocated against climate change, and so there is that component. But I would like to know, I'm curious Christina, what your stance is on climate change. Because I don't know that I've actually heard that.
That's where I think that everybody wants to know how everybody feels.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter what I feel that my personal opinion is that climate changes. It's an evolution. It goes up a little bit. It goes down a little bit. It's something that naturally happens throughout history. That's my personal opinion. But I keep hearing your personal opinions. And with all due respect, your personal opinions don't matter. What you're supposed to be doing here is listening to the will of the residents. We keep bringing you more and more signatures and keep doing presentations that honestly you people should be doing. I don't know why I'm doing it. You should be educating yourselves and doing community presentations, real ones, not ones hired by Equinor people, about what's going on with this job. You're not doing that. So how I feel is irrelevant. How you feel is irrelevant. What we're showing you, what we're presenting you, what we bring you every single meeting is showing you the will of the people. Do not want this beautiful, pristine coastline destroyed by industrializing the ocean. You should be following our will. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Rob Cattell.
Good evening. This is my first time ever speaking to you guys, so first of all, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. A couple of questions, and then I'm going to bring up a couple of topics, and if they've been brought up in the past, I apologize because I haven't been in many city council meetings. I have one quick question, though. In regards to the jurisdiction that Long Beach has, as far as things, whether they're lines or whether they're going across the city, where does it end as far as the shore is concerned? Because my reasoning is, I still see these large boats that are out in the ocean, and they're coming very, very close to the ocean shore. Is there a certain limit as far as where our jurisdiction ends, or does it end at the shoreline? Does it go into the water?
It ends at the shoreline, at the beach, at the high tide line.
So these boats can come as close as they want to the
Anything
shore?
out there in the water is state jurisdiction. Then once
Okay.
you get past 3 miles, it's federal jurisdiction.
So there's nothing you guys can do to prevent them from coming really close
No,
to the shore?
and that's the interesting part of this, is some of this, when some of the anti-people come up here, it's sort of like going to McDonald's and complaining about the pizza you got at Gino's that you don't like. You know, you're talking, you know, like people were having a hissy fit over the jack-up boat that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the state. The state gave them the permits to do it.
Is that the boat with the large poles? It's out in the Rockaways
So
right
if you
now.
got a problem with that,
Yeah.
this is not the place to complain about that. The state is the place to complain about
I was
that.
just curious about it because I still see these boats out there,
So-
and I just wonder why
Right.
they're, you know.
And, just another little interesting piece of information, so the mapping they're doing out there, the sonar, people talk about the sonar and its potential impact on the whales, and there's science on both sides of the issue, whether it does or it doesn't. But the interesting thing to remember is, A, baleen whales, which are the whales that have been washing up, the humpbacks, they don't use echolocation. They don't.
Okay.
So when everybody talks about the sonar affecting their echolocation, baleen whales don't use echolocation. That's one.
I didn't come up here to talk about this
Okay,
issue.
and just another fact too is,
Okay.
your time stops when.
Okay, okay, thank you. I had two issues.
All the fishing vessels out there that use fish finders, that's sonar.
Okay.
All the ships that use fathometers, which means the depth of the water, that's sonar.
Okay.
So trying to pin something on a specific vessel when there's lots of vessels out there doing the same thing,
I think it's just a coincidence since it's all happening
Listen,
lately with everything
to the
going on.
point
Not
is,
only here, but also in New
is there
Jersey. and stuff.
Can you
So.
be absolutely certain? No. Like I
Okay.
said, you can go online and find research on both sides of the issue. It says it does, it doesn't.
Okay.
So it depends what research you choose to believe. I personally stood there and watched the necropsy on that whale that washed up on our beach. I stood there for 6.5 hours asking Noah and the other people questions. The whale had bruising on its neck and head. It had contusions on its lung. Its kidneys were full of parasites. There was a lot of things that could have killed that whale. The other issue is we're in the middle of what they call an unusual mortality event for the whales. The unusual mortality event actually began back in 2016. It started further south off the coast of Virginia, and we're going through here now. And that was long before any offshore wind activity was taking place. Anything related to offshore wind was taking place. So again, is it possible? It's possible, but there's a lot of evidence on the other side of the issue as well. So it's what evidence you choose to believe.
By the way, I wasn't going to bring this up, but since it's been mentioned earlier tonight regarding PR and sponsorships, a former coworker of mine used to be on the council. I won't mention their name. And he and I worked in the sports marketing business for about 18 years. And we talked in the past that this city is really underutilized as far as things that can get corporate sponsorships. Forever, we talked about there should be a corporate sponsorship around that ice arena, whether it's Chase Bank or whoever, and there's nobody here pushing that. You can make so much money if you hired even part-time people to go out there, like myself maybe, to go out there and find sponsors for whether it's the ice arena or even the boardwalk. That's where you can find some incremental money. But
The Rangers actually sponsor the ice arena.
well, they're
partially.
a team. I'm talking you can get a corporation to get involved as well. And maybe
Yeah.
you go to the New York Rangers sponsors and say to them, hey, why don't you get involved with this as well? They probably have a lot of incremental dollars and they can do that. Anyway, the two issues that I want to discuss, and again, if they've been discussed in the past, I apologize. I live off of Laurelton in West Penn. And I don't remember how many years ago it happened, but a lot of the lights in Long Beach were all replaced by these LED lights. They suck. They're horrible. They don't work half the time. They give very poor resolution. Now, I see that Long Beach has replaced the lights on National and also on Neptune. Those two boulevards look fantastic. They're very lit, very visible. I will tell you, where I live off Laurelton, there have been 2 instances this summer where I've almost gotten hit by a car because the lighting is absolutely horrible. My question is, why can't we take the same lights that are right behind this beautiful city hall and over on Neptune by East School and put them in the rest of the area? Is it a financial situation? Because I don't think I'm the only one that thinks this. The lighting in this town is absolutely horrible. It's really bad. And you're going to have an accident one day, and you're going to have a lawsuit that somebody's going to say the lights were insufficient. That's my first issue. Secondly, I've been spending a lot of time riding with my wife down the Rockaway Beach boardwalk this summer, and I got to tell you, they get it right. Not only with the boardwalk, but with the beach. As far as the beach is concerned, every entrance that I notice has a ramp going onto the beach. Those plastic ramps that we used to have off of National, they have them on every block. So people that have disabilities or older people can get to the beach very simply. I don't know why we don't have those here. We have one on Neptune, that's it. Secondly, in regards to the boardwalk, and I'll make it quick.
Yeah, please wrap up.
They set up their boardwalk where there's not going to be any issues with people crossing over in front of the bike people. What they do is they have the bikes on one side, and they have the people on the other. In order for people to enter the boardwalk, they have to look at the bikes first before they cross over to enter the beach. I don't know why we can't do that here, because I can't tell you how many times this summer I've almost hit somebody that's just wandering aimlessly, not looking where they're going, and a bike, whether it's myself or somebody else, hits them. Can we somehow change the way that's set up on the boardwalk? It's a simple, it's a simple change.
Interesting suggestion. We'll look at that, because we've all run into this with the knuckleheads that walk
they don't look.
in the bike lane. We all
They
deal with
paint
it.
lanes down there so that people see it.
But it's interesting. We could potentially look at that.
Okay.
So,
what about the lights and the ramp?
oh, sorry. I don't know if you want to.
Joe.
Joe, do you want to?
What is the actual plan? I know most of the streets, and it is a matter of funding, it's extremely expensive to start to
Did you
replace
get
light
extra money
fixture.
this year to fund?
Well,
I wasn't at that meeting
whenever-
where you guys had extra money.
Whenever
No,
we
we don't.
upgrade, when we do a complete reconstruction, like for example, we just did Doyle. So on those streets, we put in their colonial post-top luminaires, which are 12-foot high LED lighting. Those projects, though, unfortunately, like that one was 1.4 million. This one on National Boulevard was about 6.5 million to do
Just the whole boulevard.
to do the whole boulevard. But the lighting component, those poles, they're about $15,000 each with the
What if
fixtures.
instead of replacing
So-
the poles, you just replace the light bulbs? The
Well, I
poles
know-
are there.
well,
I think it's
two-
the bulbs that are really insufficient.
Yeah, it's two different issues. I thought you were talking about the aesthetics
No, I
of
don't
the
care- I
lights
don't
in
really
general.
care about the
You're more
aesthetic.
concerned.
I really care
Oh, I
about
got
the
you. Okay,
lighting.
yeah, that's
It's really dark.
potentially easier to address than actually the aesthetics, like having the colonial poles.
Fine.
When we just did our recent LED upgrade project, we changed all of our fixtures from induction to LED. They actually lowered, and we had a consultant do this, it wasn't internally. They actually looked at all the lights and they did, it's called photometrics of the city, and they determined, they lowered the wattage quite substantially from like 150 watts to probably like 35 watt LEDs depending on the area. So they determined that a lower LED would provide the same light. From what you're saying, it doesn't sound like it's the
Yeah,
case.
but I understand you want to save
Sure.
money on LED, but I'm saying these light
Well, it's not
bulbs
saving
here-
money, they're just more efficient,
But
you know.
the light bulbs that are on National and Neptune, the ones that I've seen, they're so much brighter. I mean, if you go down my boulevard on Neptune, I mean,
What are you on?
Laurelton,
You're on
it's-
Laurelton?
I'm on Laurelton. There's some of them are out. It's really dark.
Yeah, we'll take
and
a
I'm
look.
telling
Well,
you,
you know,
somebody's going
we'll-
to have an accident.
We'll take a look. I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Okay.
We can take a look.
All right. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thanks. Kelly Martinson.
So I figured.
Hey guys, I just wanted to thank you because I haven't had a chance. I've been here, but I haven't gotten up here. But I really, truly want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for that letter you sent saying you guys are against the cable. Because you didn't start there. And it took you time and research. You educated yourself and you got there. And you really, with that letter, you said to Equinor, like, there's not a dollar amount that we would accept to risk one person's life in Long Beach. And to me, that just felt really united. And I know we're fighting and we're calling each other anti this and that. I think we're a lot closer than we think. Like, Tina, you asked the question. You asked it of Christina. You didn't ask me, but you know I'm worried about the climate because you know me personally. I have solar panels. So we can all be, it doesn't have to be sort of black and white and you're Republican, you're Democrat, you believe in climate, you don't believe in climate. And I think we got to that great united place by listening to each other. So my only suggestion would be take a shot, go to one of these meetings. They're really interesting. You know, you may get a pearl or two, and that's really it. But mostly I want to say thank you because when I saw that letter, I don't think I felt that united as a Long Beach community against something as when we were after Sandy. So my real thing is thank you. My second thing is chop the meeting.
Kelly, there will come a time, I don't want to, I haven't been to any of these Article 7 meetings, so, I can't really tell you anything about it. But there will come a time when they're going to come to us and say, you don't want cables? Prove to us why. And we're going to have to come to you.
Great, I got everything
And-
ready.
Yeah.
I got no problem.
I mean, because other municipalities have done that, and they basically said,
Well, also the
you know.
data is super new, and I think that's kind of, it's like the whale deaths, it's like, so it's really robust and also really current. So that the stuff that I brought to you in the past, 2022, one was a study from May 2023, which is the fetal abnormality study, which was a big one. So we're learning about EMF, it's new, so maybe those other municipalities just didn't care enough to do the research. I don't know, but I have it for you, it's
what
strong.
I'm learning is when it comes to hierarchy, who's more important, humans or fish? Guess what?
I'm glad I'm a human today because you value me. Is that my guess? All right.
It's
well,
like, if I don't want to pick on piping plovers, but if you're going to, if it's between a human and a piping plover, the plovers get it.
All right, that's fair. But definitely stop by. The meetings are interesting.
Kelly, can you just stick around for a second when the meeting's over?
Yes.
I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right, that's it, folks. Thanks for coming out. Sorry it was so warm in here, and everybody get home safe.
I know, yeah, way under. Wow.